very organized when you structure it, because if you can very much get a web of messes and nodes and not knowing what's going on. So learning the tricks to, break things out, put things into submodules, all that kind of stuff is important so that you keep it organized. Okay. Okay. So my best advice to you, and you're going to hear this a lot from everybody, and even myself when I started, I didn't want to hear it. But you don't even need to watch all the YouTubes, although I learned a lot from YouTubes. Start small. Like, everyone wants to jump in and rush in. But the best thing you can do is do a lot of small projects up front and complete them. It really is good advice, because when I started, I ignored that advice because I was a programmer. I had worked on applications, and I was like, I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. And what I realized over time was the skills that I lacked weren't prototyping or starting. It was actually bringing things to completion. Like, there's a saying that I forget how it goes, but it's like the most amount of work you'll do in a project is always in the last 20% of that project. Because it's all the little things. It's all the little things that you either put off because you didn't want to do them, or they were hard, or they're hard. And to bring it over that line and to finish the project is usually the most amount of effort you have to do in the entire project, right? Even from a small game. And which is why starting small, like making Pong or making Pac-Man or making Snake or making something, you'll see how much effort it is to bring the project to completion. All the little details that you forgot. So since you're starting, my recommendation to you would be pick a game that is, a classic arcade game, something simple, or a small project, and just bang it out. Bang it out, quick and dirty. Just get it working. Yeah, see, I'm with you. I did the same thing. It's a passion project. It's your big idea. It's the thing you really want to work on. And you're excited about it. But you're going to burn yourself out on it, because you're going to realize that the amount of effort it's going to take to deliver on that passion is a lot. And I'm not saying you're not going to do it. You are going to do it. But you need to start smaller and work your way up. And then you'll get there. You will get there. You will do that project. I promise you, you will do that passion project. But you don't want to hate that project because you get stuck early on. That's the worst thing that could happen. And then most people burn out. So my advice to you would be, do something that will get you closer to that passion project, but is much smaller in scope and set and scale. Yep. And finish it. Don't get halfway through and be like, oh, I've learned enough from this, I'm done. No, finish that project. You will feel good. You will feel really good. There is a certain high that you get when you can finally say, like, oh, I did everything I wanted to do on that project. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna try to do this every Friday. So like, if you have questions, if you like, hey, how do I do this? I kind of want my Fridays to be like chill and have conversations, and so bring your questions. You're always welcome here. I mostly focus in Unity, so if you're working in something else, I'll do my best. But we do have other people like Slow Dive here. They work in Unreal Engine, so there's other people that hang out and can possibly answer questions. Yeah, yeah. Well, Lethal Company. Oh, follow. Thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. Well, Lethal Company is a fun game. But one of the things you have to realize about Lethal Company is that that developer, even though it was a single developer that did that, they had a lot of experience making Roblox games before they did that. If I remember the hype behind that game, they were a Roblox developer. They worked on a bunch of Roblox games that were successful, and then they decided to make their own game with Lethal Company. And I played Lethal Company. It's hilarious. It's funny. They knew what they were doing. It's rough around the edges, but in all the kind of funny, good sort of ways. So, do I think a solo developer can do that? Yes. But you're forgetting that person had a lot of experience before they did that. They made a lot of games before they did that. So don't count that out. Don't discount that. Well, feel free to share your idea too. If you want to share your idea, we can talk about it. You know, if you think it's too ambitious, my guess is if you're shooting for something like Lethal Company and you're saying it's more in depth, you're probably overshooting, especially if you're thinking about doing something multiplayer. Multiplayer adds a lot more complexity to your game. I think we got ads. I don't know if it is. There's a lot that goes to doing multiplayer that you don't really realize until you're like doing it, and trying to make sure you're synchronizing clients and events to make sure that they all play in sequence. Watching it. Okay. So Are we back? Okay, we're back. So yes, so multiplayer is challenging. There are a lot of different ways to do this. If you're using Unity, there's a lot of different libraries. Obviously, there's netcode for game objects. There's netcode for entities, which is even more complicated because that uses dots and ECS and everything. There's Fishnet, which is the library that I like to use, although I've used netcode for game objects. There's Photon Fusion, which is very good too. And there's also Photon Quantum, which I have not used, but it's kind of like their own ECS thing. So there's a lot of different options you have. And then, yeah, it's syncing, it's making connections, it's syncing services, it's then syncing game objects, game state over the network. And it's a lot because, you know, you don't think about things like, you know, it's not just a matter of making sure all clients see all things, because you have to minimize the amount of network traffic that you're trying to deal with. And you only want to send the most minimal bits of information back and forth in order to maintain the game state between all the clients, in order to reduce that overhead. Like I have my game, which I don't even know will work. Let's see if this works. But it is more complicated. I would because build yourself up to multiplayer. Build yourself up there. CodeMonkey has a great tutorial on netcode for game objects, which is free. He builds a game in Unity and then converts it over to multiplayer. Kitchen Chaos. It's a really good tutorial. It's actually a really good tutorial for building a game anyway. So if you're looking for a good tutorial, I'd recommend CodeMonkey's thing. He did a really good job with it. So I would recommend looking at that. But you'll see the complexity there. And if you're new, it might even be too much, because I believe he considers it an intermediate tutorial because he assumes you know a lot of things already. Typically, you don't do that. Like, no lie, typically you don't want to actually build this single player first and then add multiplayer to it. The reason being is because a lot of the multiplayer frameworks are opinionated about the way you build things. So if you build a system a certain way, like let's say you build an inventory system, because your game is going to have inventories. Your players are going to be picking things up. They're going to be holding them. They're going to have a UI where they can, you know, maybe open a bag and drag things to a hotbar. Like let's say like you have that and you build that in single player, right? In order to make that work on multiplayer, depending on the framework you choose, may require you to completely rewrite that system. So you don't want to end up having to do that, right? So I would suggest starting small. Like, I'm going to show you. So I have my website here, which I have to update. So if I go to socials. Okay. So I have my website, and on my website, I have the games that I've done. And one of the first games I ever finished, this is literally one of the first games I've ever finished, is from scratch, that I wrote personally and didn't follow a tutorial and didn't follow anything, is this little space game here. And I don't know if you're familiar with Lana Lux, but Lana Lux is a game dev streamer, and she does. In fact, let me give her a shout out. So she does periodically. She does things with her community. This is one of the great communities too to join. I recommend it if you're looking for a good game dev community. Go check out Lana's channel. She's working on a game called Strain. She has a great community. It was one of the first communities I joined. So, she did a game jam where you had to finish the game in 3 hours. It was like a random thing she did one time. So I tried to make the simplest game I could think of, which is Asteroids. Okay. So you right click to thrust your little ship, and then you left click to shoot. And if you get hit 3 times, it's game over. I did not finish this in 3 hours. This game took me an entire week to finish. And all it is this. But this was literally the first game I ever wrote from scratch and made it entirely by myself. And I love this game. That's it. A Space Jam game that took me way more than 3 hours. So, I challenge you to build that. That's my challenge to you, King Eyeball. And I got all my graphics from, I'll give you this little game dev nugget. There's a website called gameicons.net. These are all royalty free. You can use these for whatever project you want. Here's my spaceship. That's literally the spaceship you saw. And you can basically go here. You can say no background. You can download this as a PNG and you can plop it right in your game. And you can use all these assets for free. So knock yourself out. I'll post this in chat. There you go. So I hope I don't know if it's going to take you a day, a week, a month, but I want you to come back to this channel. I've never heard of that one. Use Quaternius. Oh, look at this. Ooh. Nice. These are all free? Or are these paid? No, they're free. Oh, they're Patreon based. So if you belong to their Patreon, you get more stuff. That's cool. Oh, wow. These are cool. Thank you for this. I'm going to save this. Game dev. I have like an asset. I do have an assets folder. Okay, I'll save that there. Thank you for that. Very cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Lots of orange and white stuff. Very cool. So yep, it's, you know, I started doing some 2D games. Sorry. Supposed to spawn a treasure chest.